Welcome to the Explain It podcast. I'm your host, Ingryd Hernandez. I think I'm excited for every single podcast I do, but just another exciting one, guys. That's how good these episodes are. With us today is the Israel Miller, which you can go follow him on Instagram. Israel, I got to meet because of Owners Club. So we're both in Owners Club. I got to sit by him and like pick his brain, as people say. Can I pick your brain? It's always gross when like, really, you want to pick my brain, pick my lice? I don't know. It's kind of weird, kind of gross. But before we get there, I just want to remind you guys that if you have an agent that's a pain in the ass, or you are an agent yourself, I am starting a wait list for totalagentcoach.com, where I'm going to be teaching agents how to be investors or how to work with investors so that the conversations that we're having to help their sellers' problems comes much easier. So again, if you have an agent that you know that really needs this, however, if you want to be an affiliate to this, you got to DM me on Instagram, agent coach, so that I know to send you the affiliate link so that you can set up your own link to give to these agents who, again, are stubborn, or maybe they're not stubborn. They're super open, but you just need them to be funneled somewhere where someone like myself can help coach them on all the troubles that come in real estate. But one of the biggest troubles that we didn't even know was a trouble, that Israel opened up my eyes to, is this foreclosure surplus. So without further ado, let's bring up Israel Miller. Hey, Israel.
What's up, Ingryd? Thank you.
How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm awesome. I'm ecstatic about this opportunity to be on your podcast and to do this with you. As you said, we spoke about this at the Squad Up Summit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just super thrilled to actually be here now. Yeah. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited. Okay. Before we tell people how this is like a no-brainer strategy, if they're trying to get into real estate and they're like, where should I focus? And just like Pace Morby says, the problem with real estate isn't that there isn't money to be made. The problem with real estate is that there's so many ways to make money, and you got to pick a lane to get started. So
right.
Before we get there, Israel, how did you get started in real estate, and like, why should we hear what you got to say?
How did I get started? I don't even want to date myself. I got started a few years ago.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it like that. It was a few years ago. Like right before I got out of college, I picked up, that purple Bible.
Yeah.
That book.
The Purple Bible. What's the Purple Bible?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I picked up that book a few years ago, and when I picked it up, I was like coming to the end of my college career, and it just enticed me to pursue the entrepreneurial side.
Mm-hmm.
And if I first got involved with network marketing, that was like my first business venture, was the network marketing. So me and my college buddies, we were running all around Baltimore, Maryland. I went to Morgan State University. Shout out to Morgan. And we got involved with a network marketing company. We were just running around trying to build that thing. And it was an awesome experience. It got me involved in sales. That was like my first real sales experience. And then, I started learning about real estate. My dad had a course in his closet, and I went home one weekend and I seen it, and I packed that thing up, put it in my trunk, and took it back to school with me. And ever since I read that course, I just had a passion to get into real estate. I got to the course. I followed up with going to a seminar. That course had a very strong sales funnel inside of it that I had no clue about at the time. But I ended up at like a 2 or 3 day seminar out at my airport, and and then I enrolled in that coaching program, and it's been a whirlwind ever since. So I got my very first property was a duplex, a house hack. And yeah, I had a roommate. I had a Section 8 tenant in my unit, in the other unit, and that allowed me to that eliminated my living expenses, or at least my household living expenses for the first few years of my career. And then I eventually got into wholesaling. In the DMV area, I was wholesaling. I was up there rehabbing. The big crash came in 2008. So that tells you how long I've been doing this.
That's why you didn't want to date yourself. I hear you. Okay. I was impacted too. I'm going to be coloring these grays today.
Right. Little things. Yeah. Yeah. So, I took a haircut when the crash came. I lost a few properties at that time. However, I stayed in the game, and I'm still here, 20 years later. So, I got 20 years of experience behind me, and, I've seen the up markets. I've seen the down markets. Now I'm in a position where I'm just trying to take my business to the next level at this point.
Okay, that's awesome. So when you were real estate investing, back in our day, I'll say, were you doing it as a side hustle or were you doing it full time?
Nah, it's always been a side hustle for me. So, like I bought my first property in 2005, so exactly 20 years ago. And it has always been a side hustle for me. Again, I got an engineering degree. I got involved in my career in 2001. So I started very early. One of my first internships as an engineering student actually got to travel to Germany. And that just opened my eyes to a whole new world, the international world. Like I realized I'm from urban city, Philadelphia, North Philly, West Oak Lane. I realized that first international experience, like I realized the world is bigger than the four corners I stood on, and that just opened my eyes. And I had I just had a passion for travel ever since then. So I stayed with my job 23 and a half years, 23 and a half years. And when I first started working full time, I was also getting into real estate full time as well.
Right. So, wow. Yeah. So for anybody out there, if you're still doing a W-2 hustling and you're doing this real estate stuff, let us know in the comments. Put a W-2 on there and let us know, because I want to normalize the fact that a lot of people get started while they have a W-2. Like I literally just left. Not I would say just. I left. I didn't even leave. I was let go. I'm very, very upfront. When I was in my W-2, I knew that my role, my job was to get myself fired. Part of my job was how do I delegate and create the governance rules that they required, that you wouldn't need me anymore because all the strategies, or a good chunk of them, have been deployed. So I became redundant. And luckily I was let go, because then I left with the severance package. So that was nice. As I transitioned from my W-2 into full-time real estate investing. But I didn't that didn't just happen. I joined Step 2 January of 2021, and I got let go last year of March 2024. So to give people some perspective, you are on your own timeline. Do not feel the pressure of needing to leave your W-2. In fact, I think I didn't do enough, where I could have gotten myself all these loans, because one of the things you can do is you're bankable. So when you have a W-2, you're in a position of power. Your superpower is that you're bankable. Right. So with all that said, Mr. Miller,
yes, sir.
Are you still with your W-2?
Nah. Not at all. So I literally just resigned from my W-2 about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And by the way, when I was let go, all of my entrepreneur friends were like, congratulations, so awesome. And then all my W-2 friends were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you going to be okay? And then,
Right.
can I send you a dinner train? I don't know. Like, so, so guys, the minimum takeaway of this is go ahead and build your hustle on the side while you're working your 9 to 5. Come home and work your 5 to 9. Really
Absolutely.
can do that. I've done it. Israel's done it, and now he gets to be a full. Now I have to ask this question:
Uh-huh.
Is your biggest hurdle right now is figuring out your calendar?
It is. It's my day-to-day task. Is like, what am I doing today? Because I got some days where, like, I know I'm taking action, but it feels like I'm not moving anywhere. And it's like, am I taking the right actions? What am I doing with my time? Like, I'll look up and half the day is gone. And I'm like, I didn't even accomplish anything on my list yet.
Now, I got to tell you, because you're an Owners Club member just like me, that
Yes,
calendar series
that
that Pace
calendar
put
hack.
together, money. I watched it twice and I may go watch it again. It was
Yes,
so good about
yes,
how to block your calendar and like if your family's not in your calendar, shoot, I put church in my calendar. Like if it's important, it should be in your calendar. That includes family time, that includes church time, that includes
yes,
money
yes,
making activities.
yes,
The,
yes.
the stuff that I haven't been able to organize very well is the color coding. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
one problem at a time. Right now, it's just all blue. Like if it's on my calendar, I got to do it. And then the lens of which I look at it is it my family or am I making money? I'll put it in my calendar. Otherwise, if it's not, I really should be delegating it to my team,
Mm-hmm.
so that they're managing the acquisition relationships or managing the disposition relationships. And I'll be honest, I'm barely getting there now. Like I really went through a mental block and I didn't even realize I was going through that mental block of,
Right,
am I taking on everything or am I giving my team members an opportunity to make money? And so
right.
once I started looking at that, I was like, shoot, I'm being greedy. I need to have my team involved. One, because it takes more off my plate. And then two, because it gives them an opportunity to make money. So, anyways, I thought that was an interesting.
Nah, I'm facing them same challenges right now. In fact, just yesterday I was having a discussion with one of my team members, and he's sitting here, like I'm sitting here, and he see me working on my social media, and he was like, "Yo, why are you wasting time with social media?" I'm like, "Cause it's a necessary evil." He was like, "You got to get someone else to do that. Take that off your schedule for you, off your hands for you." I was like, "You're right. You're absolutely right." I couldn't argue with him, and
Mm-hmm.
and we actually spoke about a few different tasks that he's observing that I'm doing, and he was like, "You have me here, use me. Like, let me do that stuff." Because I have like two mentees that I'm working with like hand in hand right now. One of them, I told him to come to my house every day. So I left my job 2 Thursdays ago. That Friday, he's been sitting in my living room with me every day. He comes like clockwork to my house to make sure, just so I can have an accountability partner.
What a gift. I was just going to say, especially when somebody's watching you.
Yeah.
So, here's my like competitive perspective, right?
Uh
I
huh.
showed you before we started the podcast, you have David Moody and Jared Morrison who
Right.
sit like
Next
so
door.
like right next to me. Their office has like a clear glass. I know if they're working, they know if I'm working. So I can't scroll my phone, right?
Uh-huh.
So I think that's a huge hack where it's like, or a cheat code, if you will, where get somebody watching what you're doing because it'll help you stay accountable, and get you further faster. So I love
Exactly.
that. And so that is not even something I planned for, where I'm like, those boys are working. I'm going to be working. I'm like, who's going to get the next deal first? Right. And that's how like you start playing Mamba games with yourself. You guys ever watch, Kobe Bryant, he would make enemies of
Mamba
stuff that wasn't
mentality.
really there because it would help him like
Be
gamify
competitive.
being really good. So yeah, awesome. So Israel, I seen Elaine say, I can work on my 9 to 5, which is great. And I think she meant to say, I'm not sure how to be productive maybe she meant to say from my 5 to 9. Any thoughts? So let's transition into how did you figure out foreclosure surplus? And this might be something that might help Elaine be productive, I suspect.
Mm-hmm.
So what should people know? Like, how did you figure out foreclosure surplus? How did you stumble on this strategy? And then how can people take advantage of this as a 5 to 9 strategy?
Okay, so me, I've always been a hustler. I'm always on the grind,
Mm-hmm.
and when I found out about the overs, I was actually in Afghanistan. This was 2015, 2016. I was deployed to Afghanistan, and we worked 12, 13-hour days there, which is typically the whole day. But at nighttime, which was daytime here in the States, I had to do something. So I was researching like what can I do in that's within the real estate industry that doesn't require me to be face to face with sellers, doesn't require me to be in someone's home. And
Mm-hmm.
I stumbled across an overage system, a course about overages. So I bought that course, and I
Is
got
this
to work.
Google? Google helped you get to this answer?
Nah, this is real life right here. No Google, no AI. This
Well,
is my
like my
story.
my friend Steve Crawford, what he
Uh-huh.
did, he was like, "How do I get into real estate with little to no money?" He
Right.
literally Googled it, and it brought him to Pace. So I'm just curious. So your
Okay.
first step was what, Googling or?
I don't know because I wasn't into social media at the time. I don't know how I found it, but somehow it found me, and it
Okay.
intrigued the hell out of me. And
Mm,
so I ordered it. I started studying it, and I was in Afghanistan for about 14 months, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this business now. And I
okay.
hired me a VA, and literally I used to be up from like midnight to early sunrise working this business in Afghanistan with my I had one VA working with me, and yeah, we used to kill it. We used to kill it. But that's how I got exposed to it back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like really studied the craft of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we started filing claims because luckily with this business model, again, I never had to see a seller face to face. I never had to walk a home. It's just all paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
And we get outsourced every part of this business. It could be outsourced to someone else.
Right.
So that was one of the big benefits of me getting into this. So regardless of what it is, whether it's overages, whether it's wholesaling, whether it's flipping, whether it's something else, whatever your spirit calls you to do, my recommendation, figure out what it is that you love and just set a plan. As Ingrid mentioned, we time block. That's one of the things that I'm getting better at is time blocking. And I set up what you call RPAs, revenue producing activities. And I try to put them on a calendar, and I try to when that calendar says it's time to make them calls, I sit down and make them calls. But whatever that thing is for you, you know, do it in that 5 to 9 slot.
Mm-hmm.
Like just make sure you get it done. Make sure you get it done.
Literally. And I'm gonna give you guys the secret sauce. The secret sauce is being consistent. It sounds far fetched, but literally, I had gone almost 9 months on learning and pretending I was like working, skill up leveling my skills. By the way, this was in 2021. If I had cut down that 9 months to maybe 2 months or 3 months, I would have had so many more deals because
Mm-hmm.
once I committed myself to getting on the phone and calling these sellers, I already had VAs, I already had warm leads. What I didn't have is a commitment, a
Action.
consistency. Yeah, I just was like, oh, I would play mind games with myself. I would say, oh, I don't think those leads are good. I'm not going to call and bother them. No, I'm not like, I got to go learn about this strategy. Oh, no, Pace is doing a Zoom. I got to be on that Zoom.
Right.
And because I did the non-money making activity, which is upskilling, it is still something that was valuable to me in the long run. I missed the most fruitful market for creative financing because the really amazing deals came in 2021. I wasted away 2/3 of that year chasing nothing except skill sets. So if I could go back to 2021, I would have given myself a deadline to stop joining Zooms and learning anything, gave myself 2 or 3 months. That's it. Get to revenue producing activities and get to it, because I did end up buying it, because the minute I did that, literally, people, on day 4, working my 5 to 9, on day 4, I locked up my first deal. On day 4 of me being consistent, this is, I started Monday, by Thursday, I had my first contract. And that was because I chose to then be consistent. Now, I also learned I didn't like it. That was important. I didn't like the lead managing part, but that's beside the point. The point is I committed, I became consistent, and then boom, God blessed me with the deal. And I think that that's part of how the universe will reward you, is you got to pick a lane, get consistent with that lane, and actually do money-making activities like calling sellers, calling agents, like stirring up the pot and creating some momentum for yourself. Would you agree with that, Israel?
1,000%. 1,000%. I mean, it's all good to learn, but without the action, without the consistent action, it means nothing. One of the things that Pace said to us in our mastermind, in our club, on the owners club, he dug in and said, every hour of learning, you need to do 4 hours of execution.
Ooh.
So that's one of the things I live by. Like, it's all good, guys, to be on these phone calls. It's all good to be on the Zooms and trying to connect and build the network and all of that. But regardless of what you guys are doing, if you're not taking action, if you're not producing, it means absolutely nothing. So you got to take action, whatever that action may be. Again, we're all in different places in our journey. We all may have different business models, but whatever that thing is for you, make sure you're doing the thing every day. Do that thing every day. There's nothing else to be said about it, but just get it done. Do it. Just do it. Just do it.
Right on. So if you guys are watching this podcast, it's an hour long. That means after you watch this, you are indebted to yourself 4 hours of action taking. So that's pretty cool. By the way, YouTube doesn't like the EX word. So I ended up having to reword sort of what I said. It X'd out, but anyway, that's okay. I appreciate what they're coming from. All right. So Israel, you have a VA, you start the thing where like, hey, what can I do that I can do while sitting my butt in this chair halfway around the world? Then what happens?
Then what happens? My VAs were lining calls up for me, setting appointments. And I was doing the closings. They would set the appointment up, and I would essentially do the closing. I'll get on the phone with these homeowners. I'll confirm who they are. I'll confirm that they were the people that we were looking for. And then, I just took them through the process. And the process is very simple. How the business
you said homeowners, but they're no longer the homeowner, right?
Former homeowners. At this point, they're called claimants.
Claimants
in our business. So this business, it's more of, it's not real estate investing, but what it is, it's claim. I would call it claim processing. So this isn't your typical investment. This is where this business is so simple. We're filling out paperwork. This is real simple. We're filling out paperwork and filing claims on other people's behalf. And we get paid a pretty handsome penny if you have this knowledge. You could get paid a pretty penny to get this done. But claimants, they become the former homeowners. And we're just filing the paperwork on their behalf. So how the process works, once you talk to someone, you essentially, once they agree to work with you, sign an agreement with them that, just spelling out the terms of what's going to happen and a few other documents. And typically what I do, instead of me going to go see them myself, I will have a mobile notary go meet them. And they fill out the paperwork with the mobile notary. Or I would have them go to like a UPS store or somewhere where they can meet. They have the paper notarized.
Is part of that because they might have like, is it partly like a durable power of attorney that says you are going to work on their behalf and sort of like creating what does that look like? I say durable because it means it's a very narrow power of attorney, not power of attorney of like, hey, pull the plug, right?
No, not that tight, but yeah, a limited power of attorney. It spells out everything you're going to do very specific to the just filing the claim. And it essentially says I have the right to fill out all paperwork on your behalf, sign, direct the county. I can receive the check once the claim is considered a success, and I can cash the check and give you the proceeds.
Okay.
And that's what the limited power of attorney does. So we sign, it's the paperwork includes our agreement. It includes a limited power of attorney. It includes a letter of direction, which is pretty much a letter from the claimant to the county or whatever the government agency is, saying, hey, I'm working with Israel or whatever company you're working with. And the municipalities or the counties, they will typically have a one-page document that you need to fill out for them.
Yeah.
And that's like the entire package.
Nice. Okay. So let's describe to the audience what this claim is. So what is a surplus?
A surplus. Okay. So what a surplus is, y'all, if anyone here is involved in investing, y'all know what foreclosures are, right? So you got two types of foreclosures. You have a mortgage foreclosure, you have a tax foreclosure. Homes are going to get foreclosed on because of either they're behind on payments because of their mortgage, they're missing mortgage payments, or they're not paying their taxes. And when you don't pay your mortgage or taxes, the county in which your property is located, they will auction your property off to reclaim the money that they need for them taxes. And with the overages, the overage is the difference between what is owed to the county or to the bank and what the property sells for. So case in point, a claim I recently did, the person had owed $101,000 on their mortgage that went into default. And the property sold for $330,000. So that difference between the 101 and the 330 was like a $227,000 claim. It was like a $227,000 claim. So the difference between the 101 and the 330 or the 329, whatever it is, that's considered the overage amount. And depending on where you are, it could be called overage, it could be called surplus funds or excess funds. Depending on what state. Different states, they call it different things depending on where you are. And the requirements, I spoke about the paperwork a few moments ago, but the counties or the municipalities, they differ on what the requirements are for that you need to file with them. So depending if you ever decide to work this, you just have to figure out what the counties need you, because the county what they need you to submit, because different counties will have different requirements, but it's generally going to be the same, but they have different nuances on what they require. So yeah, I think we lost Ingryd. So yeah, so how the process works again, that's real simple.
I'm so sorry, my Wi-Fi went down. I'm on my personal hotspot now. I'm about to
gotta be able to pivot.
Check my Wi-Fi to work. Yeah, I love it. Did you go ahead and keep teaching them?
I was about to go into my bag, but luckily you came back on. They would have heard me singing and everything else here. You saved them. All
right, I'll leave my spot on. I don't know what's happening. I just texted the facilities guy. I'm like, hey, what's up? Okay, so you just described what a surplus was, and then what happened? I missed the good stuff.
So yeah, so that's what a surplus is. It's the difference between what's owed on a property and what the property sells for. And if we successfully go through the process and have them fill out the paperwork, we submit it to the county. It's a follow-up process with the county, but once you go through whatever the process is, they pay whatever that amount is out to the homeowners, and we get a small little percentage of it.
And Israel, are the counties and the cities super nice and friendly, and like they're like, oh, we got to get a hold of this seller, we have their money? I mean, obviously they have somebody assigned to doing that, right?
You would think so, but absolutely not. Absolutely not. So here's the thing, like they do send letters telling the homeowners that this money is owed to you, but if they send it to the house that it was just foreclosed on. So what happens when a house is foreclosed on? The people are typically, they get low. They disappear, and they don't resurface. They don't resurface for a long time sometimes. So will they ever receive that mail saying you're owed this money? Likely not. Sometimes when I pull lists, the list with the overages on there, sometimes there's claims on there that's 20 years old.
Wow.
And these people, they still have a right to claim their money, but they have no idea.
Well, how long can they hold that money, that surplus?
So it changes from state to state. However, so it's called achievement, and I don't want to get into the technical terms, but there's every county or every state, they have a time limit on which the county is supposed to hold the funds. And after a certain amount of time, sometimes it's a few months to years, that the county is supposed to transfer the money from the county's coffers to the state's coffers, but a lot of times that never happens. A lot of times it never happens, and these monies, they sit on the county's records for long periods of time. Now, when it does transfer to the state, you can still file claims on that. However, there could be additional regulations when you're filing the claim with the state versus the county. And so we typically just focus on the ones that the county holds. And there's various types of claims. Like I strictly focus on tax and foreclosure overages or surplus funds, but there's other claims that you could file with the state. There's state money. There's I was surprised, I just found out that there's claims from bankruptcy that you could help people file bankruptcy claims. I had no idea. Yeah, insurance claims. Like some of the other things, like maybe come from like smaller claims, like maybe come from like bank accounts that would never closed out properly, or inheritances that would never received. There's numbers of claims, various types of claims that you could file on people's behalf. So this business really.
When I get that email that's like, I'm the Prince of Egypt, I have this like these claims that they might be legit.
Right. It just might be.
Yeah.
It just might be. You never know.
All right. I see my sister in the chat, and one of the things that I seriously, if I ever need to find somebody, there's nobody better than my sister. She's like Mrs. FBI. Like, she will find you. So, as we're working through this, obviously the county or the city has sent a letter, which is an empty house that they no longer live in anyway. So they may never get this, like, hey, we got your surplus funds. What is the primary challenge that you run into in this lane of business that's changing?
Yeah, that's it right there. Actually finding people that don't want to be found. When people go through these type of challenges in their life, um, something as traumatic as a foreclosure is typically someone's
Mm-hmm.
biggest investment that they will ever make in their lives. And when they go through losing that, typically they got other issues in their lives too. They got a lot of other issues that's happening in their lives too, and these people will get low. They will put their head in the sand, and they don't want to be found. So one of the biggest challenges is actually finding the proper people, and helping them, letting them know, and letting them, well, like sometimes it takes the education process, like you said, with these emails talking about the prints from wherever, and we got all this money for you. Like that's like you receive a call from me. That's what it sounds like. Like I call you, Ingrid, and I tell
Yeah.
you you got
You want the
$70,000
luxury.
that's owed to you, and you be like, how? Where did $70,000 come from? Like that doesn't even make sense. Like everything that's happening in
Mm-hmm.
my life, why would someone owe me $70,000? Like how is that even possible? But it's very possible.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, our people don't know that this process exists. So when they go through that loss of losing their home, for whatever the reason may be, they think like their world has come to an end. So when it's time to
Mm-hmm.
go find them, and when it's time to find them, it could be a very difficult task. So we use a process called skip tracing, and we do skip tracing on different levels. There's levels to this, finding people. We have basic softwares that we use. I search court records and other public records, looking for addresses. And if need be, I may need to hire someone like your sister, like a private investigator, to find people. If the claims are big enough, like I will have to hire a private investigator to get it done. But whatever
I
it takes.
gave her a book. I gave her a book that said like how to find people without breaking the law or something like that. And it was a book this thick. I found it
All
at
right.
Goodwill. I was like, sister, I'm buying you this because I feel like the surplus and overage strategy is like the ultimate strategy for stay at home people or people trying to create some level of income from their 5 to 9. And,
Right.
and my sister, God bless her, she has, 3 kiddos. They play sports, like nobody better in basketball than my nephew, Braylon, right?
Of course.
He's a strong basketball player. So her time is limited. And so I'm like, what's the maximum output for the lowest amount of activity? And that she could also potentially do in the off hours when it's midnight, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
prepping, like direct mailers, I don't know, hitting somebody's DMs, like however they can be found. It feels like this strategy can help you work while you're available. But I also love that you like engaged with VAs so that they're also doing like the easier work, I would say easier.
Mm-hmm.
So how you engaged with VAs, like how many of these folks are on the list? Are we talking about like hundreds? Are we talking thousands? Like how many people are you trying to reach out to? In what geographic areas?
So here's the thing. You think of it like this. There's probably 3,300 counties within the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Every county, they have tax foreclosures that's happening. If not
Mm-hmm.
monthly, yearly, at least, some counties, they do it once a year. Some counties like here
Mm-hmm.
in Florida, they have tax foreclosures 2 times a week, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
foreclosures is never going to stop. With
Mm-hmm.
mortgages and the interest rates and where the economy is going, the mortgage foreclosures are increasing. So when you're talking about like the numbers that's involved in this thing, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of these foreclosures happening on a yearly basis. Like it's a sad statistic. It's a sad statistic. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is a business that I would consider, unfortunately, this is a recession proof business because foreclosures, they've been going on since the beginning of time, and they're not going to stop as long as people are living. The counties are going to continue to collect taxes from us. And when we don't pay our taxes, they want to put that lien on our homes and take them from us.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of people asking the same question. I was helping you kind of first build up, Israel. But the question that's being asked is, how do you make money then? And like, what does that look like? So let's say I had that $70,000 in overage. And I have to assume here that everything is, there's no standard. This is what you make of it, I presume, right? Because first of all, you gotta get people's trust that you're a legit person. Next, you gotta actually agree, like they have to agree to give you some shared rights. You know, I presume part of it is, hey, I'm going to have this power of attorney, and that this power of attorney is limited. I'm not going to go, you know, open up credit cards with your name and stuff like that. And then third, once this transaction's over, like what that agreement looks like. So I guess my question there is like, how do you run your business in terms of how, like, what's the standard that you charge these sellers who would have never known this money was there for them to claim?
Exactly. So with my agreement that they sign, it spells out the terms of the agreement. And trust me, it's not just me filling out paperwork and filing this claim. Like, I actually do work, but the majority of the work, the hardest part of the work is actually me finding the person. That's typically the hardest part. Once I find them and verify who they are, the paperwork is easy. The submission of the claim is fairly easy. Following up, it could be that could be a little bit challenging, working with the counties and figuring out where we are on a consistent basis. But typically, how do we provide value? Okay, we provide value by one, finding the claimants. Two, handling the paperwork from A to Z. I pay when a claim is involved, I pay all the fees. I pay any upfront fees. And what we do, we take a small percentage of the claims on the back end if we're successful at getting the claims. So if we're unsuccessful, if we don't successfully file the claim, if it's denied for whatever reason, we don't get paid anything. However, if we do file the claim successfully, we take a percentage. My percentage typically runs in the 40% range. So if you're talking about a 6-figure claim or a high value claim, that's a very awesome, good payday. But just think on a $10,000 claim, if I'm getting 40% on a $10,000 claim, that's $4,000. You know, every claimant doesn't agree to it. So that point is negotiable. So, you know, some people in this business, they do 30%. Some people do 25%. My negotiation is always going to start at 40%. And depending on where you are, like I'm here in Florida. Florida is different. You know, they have on the mortgage foreclosure side, there's a 12% cap that you could get here in Florida that they put on the mortgage foreclosures. Tax foreclosures, it doesn't matter, but on the mortgage side, there's a 12% cap.
12% cap, as in the most that you can make. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
The success fee. Okay. I call it a success fee. So Florida has a 12% cap on a success fee that I could charge people.
Got it. And then walk us through this. So normally I'm used to going through a title company whenever we're getting paid. How do you make sure that you get paid if there's no title company involved?
Because I control the entire process.
Got
my paperwork, my power of attorney, I control the entire process. So when I mentioned that the paperwork, I have the power of attorney, right? That spells out everything. And then that letter of direction is written from the claimant to the county. And that's directing the county to work with me for them to send me the check. So either I'm going to receive the check or the check is going to go to my attorney. And my attorney will cut the proceeds according to the agreement. And I do the same. If I receive a check, I'm going to immediately write an invoice up. I'm going to tell them what the expenses are. we minus the way my agreement is spelled out. Whatever the claim amount is, I minus my expenses that I put into the claim, and then we split the rest of the money to whatever the agreement, the fee agreement is.
Got it. So it's the amount minus the expenses, and then that's the new 100% split.
Right.
Wow. Okay, that's
Right.
super cool. Very good.
That's how I operate.
Well, it creates a healthy expense line. So just from like a business standpoint, right? So
Right.
very good. Okay, so Market Excel, which I think said their name was Audrey or something. I don't remember. It was up there somewhere. So I recognize though that part of this is how can you pitch to somebody and gain their trust. I mean, you're super lovable. You're like a teddy bear. But those of us who may not be teddy bear like, what's I feel like I want to answer this question. It's just say you got to go fix your sales skills. But
Right.
like, what are maybe the common objections? Also, like somebody like, well, I'll just do it myself.
Right. Right. I mean, what do we tell them? Again, it's just a lot comes into sales, but it's just all in your posture and how you talk and how you relate to them. Like, I'm not super salesy. I'm a pretty relatable person. Quote unquote, I keep it real with them, and I just lay the facts out for them. Look, this is the situation. There's a government agency out there that owes you money, and somewhere in a range of $100,000 or in a range of $10,000. What we like to do, we audit government records. We look for people like yourself who's owed money, and we would love to file this claim on your behalf. This is what we do to provide value to you. Again, we will handle all the paperwork. We will front all the money to file this claim. Our lawyers, and we'll spend our time on this. It doesn't cost you anything but 10 to 15 minutes of you sitting with a notary. That's all it's going to cost you. And we'll handle everything else. And if we're successful at doing this claim, we're going to take a small percentage. You get the lion's share. And if we don't successfully file the claim, you owe us nothing. Now, what are the common objections?
Yeah. So ultimately, you're explaining that kind of like injury lawyers, where they're taking the risk on taking the case. If you don't get paid, they don't get paid. But if they do get paid, then, or if you do get paid in an injury, case, that's when they take their percentage point. So I feels like it kind of parallels that sort of value proposition. Right.
Exactly.
Okay. And then obviously you're going to go after those overages where it's worth your time and effort, right? So if it's like $2 or $3 grand, not worth your time and effort. But when you're talking about, 10 grand or more, maybe it's worth your effort, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's the same process, whether it's a $5,000 claim or a $500,000 claim. It's the same process. The beautiful thing with this, I'm not putting my money, like not no big money on the line. I'm not using any of my own cash, not a big amount of cash. I'm not putting my credit on the line to go file a $200,000 claim. Literally, it's the cost of a notary. I may or may not, depending on the type of claim, I may or may not have to pay an attorney up front. That could be a few $1,000s. But typically my expenses on this, I'm all into a claim $200 to $300. And the upside of us filing that claim is infinite.
That's so freaking awesome. Yeah.
If I gotta pay an attorney, I may be all into a claim $3,000, $4,000 if I have to pay an attorney, if that much. Not a lot of times I don't even get that high. And I have some attorneys that I work with. They will do the claim for me and then just take their proceeds from off the back end, so I don't even have to pay them up front.
Why would you need to get an attorney involved?
Okay, so depending on the type of claim, depending on the state that you're in, you have what you call judicial and non-judicial states. All right. So the judicial states, typically on the mortgage foreclosure, these are civil actions. to get the money back. The banks, after a foreclosure happens, a mortgage foreclosure happens, it's a civil action within the court system. So when it's a civil action in the court system, we're going to need to have an attorney involved in that. I can't, like, there's motions that need to be filed to get this money back. And although I have a power of attorney, I don't have the right to act as an attorney and go file motions.
Got it. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. Now, Israel, obviously you're using a specific contract that you've probably invested in, and you're using certain skip tracing services. Hopefully you have a good affiliate. So like what can you share with the team, like with the audience, if they're listening to this and they want to get started in this strategy? What's your advice on like how to get going?
Yeah, just research it. It's out there. The information is out there. Reach out to me. Like, I'm just sharing this. Like, guys, I've been doing this for a few years now. As we spoke about earlier in the conversation, I recently left my job a little less than 2 weeks ago. It hasn't even been a full 2 weeks yet. But this is what I'm building. Like, this business model is going to be my primary business model over the next decade. Over the next decade, I will focus on this business. I did wholesaling, I did rehabbing, I did creative financing. Like, I still want to do them things. And the money that I make from this business, I will still invest in real estate. But for my active income will come from this business. But at this current point, like, I don't have any softwares to share with you guys. Like, if y'all interested in getting involved in this, DM me. Like,
I'm about to DM you. Wait, I get first dibs though, right? All right.
Yeah, you gonna make that introduction to your sister for me, man. We're gonna get it in. Like, yeah.
I'm telling you, I feel like this is such a good fit. And then you get to learn the drama, like what happened? Why'd you lose this house? Like, tell me. Anyway.
Trust me, like, it's a lot of relationship building in here. But yeah, man, it's like, if y'all interested in this business, please just reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to put you on the game and tell you how you could go about pursuing this. And if you're interested in working with me, like, I will be growing a team for this business. I have a very big goal that I want to achieve. Like, within the next decade, I want to help homeowners. Like, within the next decade, I'm gonna help homeowners recover $100 million in this business.
Let's go.
$100 million. That's my goal over the next 10 years. So that's going to roughly average out to about 10 million per year. And I can't do that by myself. So I plan to grow a team. From what we charge, what we from our success in helping other people, I'm gonna be able to pay my team quite handsomely to help me do this, achieve this goal. So we're going to help other people, and I believe, what is it, Jim Rohn? He said, "Help other people get what they want. You'll get everything you want." Like, I honestly believe in that, and I want to grow a team to run this business, to focus strictly on this business. And anyone that's watching this, I love to work with you. Call me or just reach out to me. We'll figure out how we could partner up together. I'll show you how to do the front end of this business, and I'll take care of everything on the back end. And we could have a small partnership. Yeah.
Is that is so then your vision right now is to be able to do this nationwide then? Is that really the vision then? Because so the way that I understand it, you're saying take care of the front end. The front end, I presume, is getting in contact with sellers, having your face-to-face alignment, getting all that paperwork done. And then your back end is you kind of working with a lawyer network or whatever that might need to look like to deal with the municipalities, and you deal kind of with that piece of it. Is that what you mean?
Correct. So there's primarily 3 parts to this business. There's more to it than that, but to break it down in simple terms, is data management, is actually finding who is owed this money. So there's a process where we need to reach out to the county and request these funds lists. So that's data right there. We take that
Uh-huh.
data. The steps in between is getting that data skip traced, and then the
Uh-huh.
outreach. The outreach is actually calling, texting, direct mail, whatever we got to do to find these claimants. And then once we get the claimants under agreement, the back end work is the submission of the claim, and then just following that process too until a check is paid out or until the claim is denied.
Uh-huh.
So I will handle the data management. I will handle all the back end as far as like getting the paperwork, getting the agreement signed, paying whatever fees need to be paid. What I need help with is people reaching out to claimants.
Mm. Okay, I'm writing notes. I'm like, this is guys, have you guys gotten value from this? If you have gotten value from this, please write a yes. And whether you're on Instagram, because we got a good chunk of people who've sat on Instagram watching this, or if you're on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, because yes, I'm streaming on Twitch. Let me see a yes if you've gotten value, because this is such a huge way of especially if you have to recognize that when you're playing the same game everybody else is, right? The wholesaling game, like there's a lot of competition. I feel like this surplus game is one that, first of all, I already see a success for it with you, Israel. Like you're going to make this inundated. And I love that you're already creating an approach of how can you create a community of people that they're working with you, because you're going to take care of the the parts that you already gained from your own experience. However, the part that is going to be more difficult for you is the people managing piece. The like, let's get in front of people, let's get the trust involved, let's make sure that like how they can then team up with you. So
Right,
I love this so much, for sure.
right, right. Thank you, Ingrid. Yeah, this is a super simple business, guys. As Ingrid, she hinted towards wholesaling. Wholesaling is a beautiful thing. Like I've cut my teeth on wholesaling. It's an awesome
Mhm.
way to learn how to invest, like especially because it's a lot of no money down strategies. But that's
Mhm.
a grind right there, like a real grind. And
Mhm.
I'm still involved in the wholesaling piece as well because I still go door knocking. I door knock for pre foreclosures, but I'm also door
Mhm.
knocking here in my local area for people who just recently got foreclosed on. So I'm door knocking for overages as well, and I will continue to do that because that's something I enjoy doing. I enjoy helping homeowners figure out what their options are when they're in the pre foreclosure stage. But I'm not, like I said, I'm
Mhm.
gonna take my focus off of that now and put my focus 100%, 1,000% into this overage game. But some of the
Yeah.
parts of this overage game and the outreach, some of it overlaps with the pre-foreclosure activities such as door knocking. And that's one of the things I
Mhm.
enjoy most is door knocking.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Jamie Fernandez wants to know, what part of Florida are you in? Because I think you've just hired yourself somebody trying to get into this business with you.
What's up, Jamie? Yeah, man, I'm down here in Broward County, my friend. I'm the sub 2 regional leader down here of South Florida. So we run meetings. We do weekly meetings everywhere between from Miami to Broward County to Palm Beach to the Treasure Coast, over to
Mhm.
Naples and Fort Myers, down to Monroe to Florida Keys. So we have a huge community down here. I'm actually going to a meetup tonight directly after when I end this call. So Jamie, yeah, reach out to me, man. That's my Instagram handle. Just DM me. I love to work with you. I love to work with all of you guys. Just hit me in the DM and we'll figure out what we could do and how we could do it together.
I freaking love this so much. And Israel, you're like, what are we going to talk about? Just surplus during this podcast? That's so fast and easy. And I was like, oh no, no, you don't. I know there's more to this than what you're telling me. So yeah, right on. Well,
Yes,
thank you
yes.
so much, Israel, for being here. So people should go follow you at the Israel Miller on Instagram. And then do you have a YouTube channel too?
Yeah, I'm the Israel Miller on there. I'm dropping weekly podcasts on there, interviewing awesome people. I got to get Ingrid on my on my
Okay.
podcast very soon. I need you to return this favor for sure. And yeah, guys, anyone that's out there that's doing anything, I'd love to talk to you about what it is that you're doing. I lived in DMV. Again, that's where I learned to invest at. So I was in the
Mm.
DMV from a long time ago. I was in the DMV. Again, I don't want to date myself, but yeah, I'm familiar with the Baltimore area. That's where I lived at, and but now I'm down here in South
Mhm.
Florida. I lived in Europe as well. I was in Europe for 6 years prior to moving to South Florida, and yeah, I got it. That's a whole nother story right there that we'll get into another day on podcast number two. Um, so yeah, that's the hit that I'm
I
coming
love it.
back. But nah, Ingrid,
Right
what I
on.
want to say
Well,
is
he said we'll do
thank you.
something. Go ahead.
I want to say thank you. Like guys, I sat down with Ingrid at the last Spot Up Summit in Dallas, and she just took me under her wing. Like how she is on camera, she's exactly like this in person. Like she's the real deal, guys. And she just poured into me. Like she put her arm around me, and we had some conversations, and her energy is like superb. So, guys, continue to follow Ingrid. It's the reason why you're on this podcast now. It's the reason why you're on her channels now. Ingrid is the real deal. Her energy is real. She's a loving and caring person. Ingrid, like I'm so flattered that you had me on here again. I'm forever thankful. Thank you for the invitation. I look forward to working with you in the future. I look forward to working with your sister. Yeah, we're gonna get it. Let's get it. Let's get
Let's
it.
do it. I love it. Yes. So thank you so much. That's so kind of you. I'm not going to do it as a productive thing right after this podcast. I'm going to go get my hair did, get these grays out of here. But guys, every Wednesday we are here from 1 to 2 Arizona time, bringing amazing experts like the Israel Miller. Go follow him so that you guys can learn about all these different strategies and all these different businesses that can uh, help guide you and help you with your future, building businesses, building wealth. So I'm really, really thankful, Israel, that you agreed to coming onto the podcast and explaining about this amazing strategy that so many people can leverage. And again, I would love to have you back. And we're like, yeah, we've done 10 deals. You know,
Absolutely.
I put my inspector sister on that. And between her and I, we were able to do all these deals with Israel. So that would be so, so cool. Again, we'll catch you guys next week, Wednesday from 1 to 2 Arizona time. We're always live, so come to the YouTube so you can ask all your questions and understand these different strategies that people have deployed. We will catch you guys next week. Thank you.